Hello everyone, welcome to The Buzz. My name is Susie Lytle. I'm a program coordinator with the Forest Preserve District of Will County. And on this episode, we're going to be learning that winter is a lot of hard work. We'll be meeting up with our natural resources restoration crews to learn about winter seed sowing, and then heading over to Goodnow Grove to learn how to turn sap into syrup. Plus, we'll have a bonus bit on a backyard bird that calls our area a warm winter oasis. So are you ready to get to work on this episode of The Buzz? When you think of a time to bust out your gardening gloves and plant seeds, I bet images of warm, sunny spring days come to mind. But do you know that winter is a great time to sow our native plant seeds? Our Forest Preserve crews have been using January and February as time to prep, mix, and spread seeds all throughout the county. One forest preserve that's getting a boost this year is Forked Creek Preserve here in Wilmington. And in addition to having woodland and prairie habitats, it also has a lot to offer the public, with a natural sled hill, picnic shelters, and trails to explore. We're going to be meeting up with restoration crews who are going to help us grow our knowledge on winter seed sowing. Thank you, Nick, for letting us tag along today.
Yep.
We're at Forked Creek Preserve, one of the different access points. Why did you pick this preserve to begin seeding?
Because it was recently in agriculture. As you can see behind me, it's just an ag field in winter, but that kind of makes the prime conditions for an initial seeding. It's basically just a blank canvas for us to start working on, free of the weeds.
And getting it back to what it once was,
exactly.
A different forested or prairie habitat.
Exactly, yep.
Hadley Valley is one of the best places that shows how hard-working restoration pays off. It's the district's largest restoration efforts, planting 150,000 wetland plants and 7 tons of seeds for the prairie. Visitors can see results by looking at all the colors along the trails. You'll find coneflowers, milkweeds, native sunflowers, and even big blue stem grass now thriving. So as you see Forked Creek, it looks a little bare now, but if you picture in the future, our hope is that it looks just as good as Hadley Valley.
Winter's a good time to put the native seed down now because most of the native seeds require a cold, moist stratification to break dormancy. So basically the cold temperatures and the moisture allows the seed coat to break, and then once the temperatures warm up in the spring, it'll allow for germination. You know, the black soil too, it's primed and ready, it's exposed soil, so as the snow melts it'll just drive it further into the ground and really get that good seed to soil contact.
And then how many different kinds of species of plants and flowers do you have to put in here?
So we have a variety of communities that we're putting in, and I would say across all those communities there's well over 200 species or so. Yeah, hundreds of species.
That's a lot of different kinds of plants.
Very, very diverse mix, yeah.
Right, and where did you get these seeds from?
So we definitely had some staff collection, we had volunteers collecting, and we purchased some from a grower. Just once we have the raw seed, essentially, whether it's collected by us, if it is collected by us or volunteers, we need to do some form of processing. Usually it's a hammer mill was the bulk of our seed, which is kind of a chopping and separating of the seed and the bulk chaff. And then once we get all the seed processed to a degree, and then we have the purchased seed, which the grower processes, and it's super clean. We mix in our rice hulls with a big cement mixer, put it into the bags, 2 acres of seed per bag, and then load it up in the truck and start putting it out through the gator. Yeah, we know what seeds to put out in our restorations because we'll reference historical texts that have some occurrences of species, and we also use remnant prairies or any communities, plant communities that are relatively undisturbed for a kind of a climax community or a community that we're trying to go for as our end goal in a restoration. If you were to do this, this acreage by hand, you wouldn't get through the winter. It would be over before you got finished. So once the initial seed installation is in, that's when the work begins. We have to do a lot of invasive species control now that it's sort of a, you know, it's open to all sorts of plants that want to grow here now that it's out of ag. So we need to come in and do invasive control and also see if our seed mixes didn't quite match the hydrology where we put them. So that might involve some overseeding in the future. Just to see if we even, in our initial installation, we had some gaps in our seeding spread. We'll have to make sure we fill those in the following years, but it'll be a slog for the next half decade plus after this, for sure. The Fort Creek prairie restoration here is just one of many that are taking place this winter, 2021. Yeah, we have numerous happening. I think some are occurring within the Des Plaines River Valley. There's this one. There's more in the Sands area, which is kind of to the southwest here. So those are just a few I can rattle off the top of my head. But yeah, we have lots going in this winter.
Winter seed sowing doesn't have to only happen in these big areas. You can do it right in your own backyard.
The primary thing to make sure you have ready to go is the site itself. So we use agricultural techniques to make sure we have a really clean slate to start with. Because if you don't have that clean slate, it makes a hard job even harder. If you put a tarp down for a couple years, that really bakes the ground and germinates all the seed bank that's already there, and that'll smother that out, and then you'll be ready to put your native seed down in the winter. And it'll still be a lot of work afterwards, but it'll be a heck of a lot easier than if you didn't do any site prep before your initial seeding.
Diversity is so important in all of our forest preserves. Our hope is by planting all these seeds, we'll have new grasses and flowers to attract new insects. With more insects comes more animals, and with more animals, more predators, and soon we'll have a strong and healthy ecosystem out here. Now, forest preserves aren't the only places that you can find native plants. See if your own backyard can use some native enhancements. You can find native plants by looking at our native plant sales hosted by the Nature Foundation of Will County. Go to our website for tips and tricks on how to grow them. And don't forget about your local plant nurseries. Remember, all of this just starts with a seed. Don't move a muscle. When we return, we're going to be learning about the dark-eyed junco.
There are plenty of reasons to visit Plum Creek Nature Center right now. March is your last chance to check out our Found Objects art trail, featuring a number of cool pieces. Come inside to view the entries in our Sculpting Wild juried art competition, including some truly unique creations. While you're here, visit with our resident reptile rescues. And say hello to the many different species of birds that visit our feeders. If there's snow on the ground, bring a sled or cross-country skis, or rent some snowshoes at the Nature Center. All three activities are sure to get your heart racing. Take to the trails and venture out to the Big Bridge, which can offer some of the most beautiful scenery you'll find in any season. So, what are you waiting for? Load up the car, pay us a visit, and enjoy everything nature has to offer.
Winter is a great time to meet your backyard birds. Blue jays, finches, cardinals, chickadees, all those stick around all year long. Other birds, like our cute tiny hummingbird, travel to other warm tropical places for the winter. But there's one bird that calls our area a warmer place, and that's the dark-eyed junco. Dark-eyed juncos spend their summers in Canada and Alaska. Then come winter, they fly and spread all across the lower 48 states. Now their size is about the same size as a sparrow, but they've got black heads and back with a white underneath. They also have pink bills, and just like their name suggests, an all dark eye. When they fly, check out their tails. They have white streaks that make quite a bold pattern as they fly away. Chances are when you see one junco, you'll see about 5 more. These birds like to fly in flocks, and they like the woodlands, open fields, roadsides, even areas like parks and gardens. If you want to attract these birds to your yard, put out some feeders. Dark-eyed juncos love seed, so they'll eat millet seed or sunflower seed, and then they're most comfortable on platform feeders or just on the ground. Juncos won't stick around forever. Come late April, early May, they'll start heading up north. So if you want to easily check these birds off your list, come to one of our facilities to see our bird feeding stations. We have areas set up at Money Reservoir, Plum Creek Nature Center, and Allagash Museum. Before we had grocery stores, we got our food, clothing, medicine, even tools from nature. Over the decades, technology's changed the way that we got materials to survive. But there's still one product that can only be made naturally in our part of the world. It requires a special tree in certain weather conditions only found in the northeastern United States and the southeastern of Canada. Pancakes and waffles just aren't the same without it. Any guesses? Well, it's maple syrup, of course! So we're here at Goodnow Grove Nature Preserve, where the Nature Center every year makes maple syrup magic. We're going to be joined by Program Coordinator Bob Ryerton, who's going to walk us through the steps of making this sweet treat.
A lot of people don't realize that maple syrup actually has a season. They think we can just get maple whenever. It is on the shelves and for sale all season long, but it actually has a season, and this is the start of it. So when the temperatures start to change at the end of winter, and we get the really cold nights with kind of warmer days, that's when maple sap runs. That's when you have to collect your sap. So this is the time the tree's kind of waking up and getting ready to grow, and the sap starts to run. That's our opportunity to collect it. So you have to get out early because there's starts and stops. If it gets really cold, the tree stops running. If it gets really warm, the tree stops running. So we have to have that fluctuation in temperature between the cold nights, the warmer days, that will make it run. Right now these buds are covered with scales that protected them all winter long. The tree is pumping sap out to them and getting ready to grow. When the buds burst, the season is over. So it's not by the calendar, it's just by the actual season of the weather. If it goes fast and the buds burst quick, season's over. If it goes slow and the buds burst later, then you get a longer season. But it's when the buds burst, because it changes the chemistry of the sap, and you can't get good usable sap out to make syrup at that point.
So you're talking about getting sap out of this tree, but what exactly does sap look like? It may be a silly question, but I don't think it's how we imagine it.
Right. A lot of people think it's going to be like this brown gooey stuff, or it's going to be sticky or thick, but sap is mostly water, usually anywhere from 97 to 99% water. It has just a little bit of sugar in it, with that 1%, maybe if we're lucky, 3% sugar, just a little bit, just to kind of take the edge off, and it tastes like really clean water. Like, this is some good water.
The first thing you need to do is figure out what tree is a maple tree. Here in Goodnow Grove, we tap sugar maples and silver maples, and I'll show you the differences. So in the summer, you can have the leaves to rely on. Our sugar maple is like your iconic maple leaf. If you can picture the Canadian flag, it's smack there in the middle. So it's got this palmate shape, it's got 5 points, and turns bright orange in the fall. Our silver maple is a little similar, just a bit pointier. And then come fall, you may recognize maple trees by their seeds. So their seeds are the helicopters that fly down from the sky. But because it's winter, we don't have leaves or seeds, so none of that helps us. You need to start looking at the bark, the branching, and the twigs. On our sugar maples and silver maples, they're a bit grayer. I have one silver maple behind me. You can see that it's kind of in strips down its bark, and some of them peel slightly. And then on the twigs and the branches, you're looking for opposite branching. So what that means is that these branches jet out parallel from each other.
The tree does form a scar from the previous year's tapping. It'll heal up over time. You don't have to stick anything in there. It will heal on its own. Just like if you got a small scrape, it will heal up. But you don't want to tap in the same spot as you did before or right next to it, because the scar creates dense wood that won't let the sap flow. And if you put them too close together, it could stop the sap from flowing in the tree altogether, and then you could kill your tree. You don't want to do that. So I have to find a tap from last year, and I'm going to go over maybe about 6 or 8 inches, and then go up or down about 6 or 8 inches to place the new hole. You want to go at a slight upward angle, maybe about 25 or 30 degrees, because you want the sap to kind of flow downward out of the tree. So you're going at a slight upward angle, and you want to go about 1.5 to 2 inches into the tree. You need something small like a little screwdriver, and to kind of clear the wood debris out of the hole to get it out of the tap hole, so the sap can run nice and clean. So we have our spile here in our hook, and we're going to just put the hook on the spile. The hook is to hold the bucket, and we're going to put the spile right in the hole and just tap it in with the hammer gently. And you can actually hear when you tap it in, it kind of changes pitch when it's set. And you can hear that it's nice and solid in there. Next we take our bucket, and we're just going to literally just hang it on that little hook right on there and lean it up against the tree and wait.
We're going to take a short break, and then when we return, we're going to learn about how to cook the sap. Now that we know how to get the sap, how much sap does it take to make the syrup?
Actually, it takes quite a bit. So we get about 50 or 60 gallons of sap, and we're lucky to make maybe a gallon or so of syrup. Okay, notice this bucket is open, it has no lid on it, so debris can fall in, or maybe a squirrel can take a drink or stuff like that. People worry about that. This does get filtered before we cook it, so it's going to go through like a screen, and then it's going to cook for a really, really, really long time, which is going to kill any kind of bacteria. And you've got to boil that and boil that and boil that until you end up with something that has 66% sugar. The process of cooking sap to syrup usually takes a whole day. So if we start early in the morning, say we start 7 o'clock or so, we get the fire going, we put the sap in, it will take us a full day all the way till sunset, which is right now around 5 o'clock or 5:30 or so by the time we start cooking, to finish a batch of syrup, to cook one batch of syrup.
Now that we learned all about how to make maple syrup, is your mouth watering to try some syrup? What I want to talk about next is how not all maple syrups are the same. With our pure maple syrup, it does go in grades. So from grade A to grade B with a light colored amber to dark colored amber. And it's just talking about how long it was cooked. The lighter the color means it was cooked quickly, precisely, and has more of a lighter taste. The darker the color means it's been cooked longer and has had more heat on it. Then you have your pancake syrup or original syrup. These containers I think are pretty iconic, but nowhere on there does it actually say maple syrup. If you look at the ingredient list, it's got about 13 different things with a lot of corn syrup, some caramel flavoring, coloring to try to match it to this syrup, which has one ingredient, pure maple syrup. So the difference is that this one's cheaper because it took way less time to make, and as we know, maple syrup is a lot of hard work. Pure maple syrup flows out of the bottle easy. It's kind of like a watery consistency. And now let's see what it tastes like. This just brings me back to great memories here at the Nature Center. Making it, leading people through programs. It's got, it's sugary, but it has so many notes of like vanilla and caramel. It's just very complex. The pancake syrup stays together more. It's more gooey, and it's a little thicker. So this one takes me back to my childhood. Before I knew anything about pure maple syrup, it tastes like a lot of sugar. Not so much like the vanilla and the caramel, just a blast of sweetness. Maple syrup is a lot easier said than done, but it does provide a very sweet reward. It's only made in North America, so when the Europeans came over here, they never seen or tasted maple syrup. The Native Americans have been making it for generations and then taught the early settlers. Then the process got passed on through modern times and now to you. It is possible to do this in your own yard if you have maple trees and the time to collect sap to boil it down. Now if that sounds too intense, you can come down to Goodnow Grove Nature Preserve and see our trees at work. You can also talk to the Natural Sound staff if you have any questions. And I hope that after all of this, you'll never look at pancakes the same way again. From seed sowing to tapping the trees, it's always an adventure out here in the preserves. Now it's your turn. Go to our website, reconnectwithnature.org, for the latest wildlife articles and news, trail maps, and upcoming programs near you. I hope to see you out exploring, but until then, I'll see you next time on The Buzz.